Alright, let's continue with Rebecca. October 28th, Friday. So we're coming back closer to the 30th of October. But we haven't really gotten far, have we? We didn't have any November 1 or October 31. I think that's all gonna be for Luke and Ashton's story, really. Alright, let's see. Let's continue. Where were we? Oh yeah. Sorry. I'm a bit everywhere. So the night wears on without further incident, despite a great number of thoughts swimming inside my head. Come morning, there's only a hush, a strange sort of stillness, unlike the ones greeting my every morn. This one uneasy, tied with anticipation, like a string stretched thin, merely waiting for the proper time to snap. Granted, it doesn't make my day any less pleasant, but the edge is there. And as expected, the second I step out of my flat, it comes apart, broken by the voices of two squabbling adults echoing from a floor below. The quiet was nice while it lasted. Shame.
What the hell were you thinking?
Was it Ashton?
I wasn't.
Isabella?
Ow! Could you let go?
Not a few seconds later, they both ascend the stairs with Ashton pulling Isabella by her wrist. She struggles as she should, but his hold on her remains firm. What happened? Freeing herself means having to draw blood, as she attempts to pry his hands off with her other hand, or using unnecessary force to push herself away, neither of which is better than the other. One could potentially end in an accident, while the other means having to hurt him physically. She has the good sense to realize that, at least. However, it doesn't take desperate edge in her voice. Then she answers Ashton's temper with her own. And she has a temper. So on they go, none the wiser than my presence.
Do you have any idea how much trouble you could get in?
That's why I'm asking you for help.
The files. I think she's asking him about the files.
Is this what you've been doing these past 3 days? Because this doesn't make your case convincing, Isabella.
Rose died, Ash.
I know. Every single person in Luxbourne knows. It's on the damn news. But that doesn't mean...
People are missing. Some of those are my friends. And BRC's just covering it all up.
You can't just barge into my office and expect me to do anything about it, right off the bat. This isn't a children's game, Isabella. We have procedures. We have to follow protocol. There's red tape all over this case for a reason. We sure as hell don't investigate things just because some stupid letter spooked us.
Ash, you have to believe me this time. If we don't do anything right now, more people will...
It's been a whole week. This stupid letter prank is getting old real fast. I'm sick of it. It was funny the first time, not so much now.
You're the only one that can help me with this, Ash. Even Rebecca won't.
All right, you two are awfully loud. What's going on here?
Both of their heads snap up, almost in unison. A displeased frown is on each of their faces, but this is a necessary interruption. What can he do? People still in their units have already taken interest in the commotion, with some taking a peek behind their curtains, while others are bold enough to creak open their doors, if only slightly. If they don't keep it down, pretty soon our landlady will show up. Getting a reprimand from her is the last thing I want to happen. First thing on a Friday morning, even if it's hardly my fault.
Well, if you want to continue this, you two better do it elsewhere. You're disturbing other people.
Don't worry, we're done here.
No, we aren't. Becca, I looked it up. I called them. I visited some of them and...
Which you shouldn't have done in the first place. Isabella, you're going to create more problems for us with what you're doing. A team has already been assigned to it. Leave it to us.
Your precious team is looking at it the wrong way. Becca, it's not just Rose. There are others.
That last bit strikes a chord. brought strongly at the memory, and that vicious smile already attached deeply inside my mind. I get goosebumps, really. The image appears clear enough that, at the mere mention of it, I stumble on my own question.
What do you mean?
The letter, Rebecca! It's not...
It's nothing.
It's not nothing.
If there's really something going on because of that dumb letter, none of us would be standing here. We've all read it, haven't we? But Rebecca's alive, Zach's alive, I'm alive. So for the last time, this isn't a curse. There's a murderer on the loose, and your coworkers happen to be the victims. Give it a rest, Isabella. It's too early for this shit.
Don't you think that's too much for a coincidence?
Not so much. Most serial killers follow a pattern. I'll tell you about it some other time. And anyway, coincidence or not, the point is, civilians like you aren't supposed to get involved. You're putting yourself in danger.
I wasn't chasing after...
Will the both of you slow down and stop arguing for a minute? What's this about your coworkers, Belle?
Becca, please don't tell me now you believe this shit.
Sure, in a heartbeat, I'll agree with Ashton. That's how it always been. Besides having a very good point. Really, they're the very same ones who milk every time I ask too many questions. But the fact of the matter is, what he wants to hear from me right now is far from what I've been seeing, sensing these past few days. It doesn't matter what Isabella or I believe in our own. Something odd has been happening around me, and that letter she picked up is at the heart of this. But however I respond to the question in their faces, only one of them will be pleased with it. Only one of them. I really don't want a piece of ash. Make a quick save. Belle, you shouldn't be doing these things. I'm going to choose that one. Regardless of Isabella's intention, curse or not, Ashton has every right to feel miffed. He's gone great lengths trying to keep his personal life away from his job. Even if he won't say it, he'll fight tooth and nail to keep us safe. So yeah, so his one a bit up. Oh, and only a tiny bit down for Isabella, so that's good. And this time, Miss Cooper's death hit close. Too close to someone he cares about.
That's not what I'm trying to get at, Ash.
Then help me talk some sense into her.
I was about to get to that. Isabella, I know you're worried about those people, but you have to understand that what Ashton's doing isn't simple. He's right. You shouldn't even be involving yourself in this kind of stuff, much less doing things on your own.
I went to him, didn't I? First thing in the morning. I asked for his help.
After you went ahead and did some snooping, and now you're planning another one. Can't you see what's wrong with that?
You won't believe me unless I give you proof. You said it yourself. Evidence doesn't lie.
Concrete proof, Isabella. Not something based on rumors or stupid urban legends. Trust me, Belle. Any day, I'd gladly help you with anything.
I know that. I was only hoping I could fix this before any of you, before I...
She's worried about her friends as well. She breathes in, deep, steadying, and in that moment, something falls behind her eyes as she looks up, as she looks away.
Sorry. I got ahead of myself, didn't I?
A quiet resolve. The same one I saw in her that night from 3 days ago. But this time, it burns brighter. Even Ashton waves at her side. When she looks him straight in her eyes, gaze unflinching, gradually, his grip on her wrist loosens.
Belle, all I'm asking you for is to...
Just this once, Ash.
Her voice, though small, lacking any force, stops him. Along with it, every sound, every noise dies around us. A hush descending as if the world is waiting for her words.
You don't have to come with me. But if I don't do anything, I am going to regret it.
She lays a hand atop his, gentle, pleading, almost intimate, if one does not consider the circumstances we have found ourselves in.
Please.
Ashton will never tell a soul, will never admit it even to himself. But it is in that short second that his own resolve breaks. The moment the hard edge in his eye softens and he relinquishes his hold on her, letting his hand fall limply to his side. Wordlessly, Isabella steps back and runs off, leaving only a muttered thanks and a small, lackluster smile. Only after the last of her footsteps fade away does Ashton move, breaking the silence with one of his sharp exhales, before reaching up to pinch the bridge of his nose in a gesture of frustration and surrender.
I can't believe she just talked me into that. Don't worry, I'll get her back here.
He's already poised to leave, and my own instinct takes over. I reach for him, gripping his elbow with the same unyielding grip, the action prompted by a voice whispering at the back of my mind. He's not going to believe me, but he deserves a word of caution. Who knows where all of this will take us? How all of this will end? He shouldn't be caught off guard, beliefs notwithstanding.
Ash, I know you don't believe in those things she's saying, and you know me. I am as less inclined to believe in those as you do. But please, try to hear her out. Even if it's not a ghost, or a curse, I think there's still something odd going around here.
What do you mean?
Weird things. Like the feeling of someone watching you. Or shivers. The room suddenly getting cold.
Like the weird things Scaredy Cat says, you mean?
To some degree. Look, Ash, I'm not sure what it is. It's bad enough that Isabella goes off like this without telling anyone. I'm just worried something might happen to her if she keeps at it. Talk to her, okay?
As if she trusts me enough for that.
Doesn't the fact that she approached you first about this, instead of me, already say a lot?
I agree. A different kind of trust. Granted, implicitly yet never spoken. Sometimes too big, too fragile to last. He falls silent for a long moment as he turns it over in his mind. In the end, all he manages to offer is a small nod before he departs, and a promise to at least listen to her, without the teasing or the jibes. A favor for me, and the least he could do for her. This is as much as I can do for him, as well until I've understood what's happening myself. Tonight, hopefully, where this all starts to provide the answers I'm looking for. Except the whole... Oh yeah, she's going to mention. Except the whole thing's off to a bad start, and all of a sudden, whatever Isabella claims dwelling in this mansion becomes the least of my concerns. Of all the cappies in Luxbourne, I have the chance upon the superstitious one. Still not as bad as finding out your car start refused to crank on when it was still working this morning, yes, not. But it's equally as frustrating when you're forced to walk the rest of the way, all because the driver got spooked. Isabella and him will get along so well. I do get his reasons. After all, I've had my fair taste of bizarre lately. All of which might have been brought upon by that letter Isabella found here. But you think he'd, at least, be charitable enough to take me a little close to the house itself, not a distance 50 minutes away, but from it by foot? Wow, he was really spooked. Good thing I'm not wearing anything too formal or constricting. Otherwise, that short walk would have likely put me in a bad mood, long before I have to suffer in a room full of strangers tonight. Although this soon proves to be a problem, the second the driveway comes into view and I near the entrance. Severely underdressed is a total understatement to describe how I look. Cars worth more than my own apartment and childhood home combined line the mansion's front yard. Men and women decked out in their best also flock near the entrance. Most are eager for the festivities to start, while some are simply idling about, enjoying the warm afternoon sun before it sets. But once the woman standing at the front porch speaks, their undivided attention immediately shifts to her. Presumably, Mrs. Wright, from the confident manner she holds herself among present company. This despite keeping a far simpler appearance than the rest of her own guests or not having her husband beside her. A trait worthy of utmost admiration at best. At worst, she is the envy of every woman, the subject of every gossip in Luxbourne.
Welcome everyone.
And Mom said we could have been good friends? I can't even picture myself being the kind of guest she has. But we know that was Luke's idea to throw a huge party, don't we? So I admit she does seem familiar. Now that I've seen her this close. Memories of sitting in a vanity, not mine. Being dressed in clothes too fancy for my own taste. They flit briefly in my mind until a cheerful tone rises above the buzz of an enraptured audience again.
Please make yourselves at home.
I wish I can share her enthusiasm, really. But being surrounded by all this extravagance, for the lack of a better term, merely makes me dread how the rest of the night might go. I shouldn't have let Luke's words affect me like that. I should have just gone ahead and asked Ashton like I've planned. If he were here, then I won't have to...
Be careful with Shirley, alright?
Who's there? The rest of that thought dies in my mind at once. A moment of astonishment overcomes me, before confusion sets in seconds later. It takes another for my body to catch up. Once it does, when I finally turn to see for myself, it's his familiar mop of hair that catches my eyes first. And there he is, almost an arm's reach if it isn't for the guest standing between us. Ashton Frey, staying the Ermengarde Mansion's driveway with an air too lackadaisical for someone who absolutely abhors bodies of any form. Or has any business here. As far as I know. The picture it forms is too bizarre for me. That my mouth speaks out ahead of any coherent thoughts.
Ashton?
He swivels on his heel with an equally puzzled face. An odd expression flashes momentarily across it once he sees me. So he blinks it away before I can figure out what it is exactly.
Becca, what are you doing here?
She got an invite.
I was invited.
Really? I had no idea you were friends with the host.
Well, it's my parents, actually. But that's beside the point. What are you doing here? You hate parties.
I still do. I'm just here on behalf of a friend.
That in itself is weird coming from him. It doesn't help that he isn't even making an effort to space a glance my way when he answers. Instead, they are focused at some point in the crowd. His gaze starting between people walking past us until a small frown forms in his face.
That's rare. Do you have someone with you then?
Nope, just me. I won't be staying long.
Oh, well, if that's the case, maybe you and I can...
Chief?
Ashton, what's...
Unexpectedly, he placed a hand on my shoulders, stopping me mid-sentence. He still has the distracted look on him, except this time his eyes are sharper, as if he has found what or who he's been searching for among the throng of bodyguards earlier.
Sorry, Becca, I need to... There's
worry.
something I need to check for a bit. I'll talk to you later. Do you have a ride home?
No, I had to take a cab here. My car wouldn't start this afternoon. But what about...
I told you to get that old thing checked before, didn't I? You can head back with me after this. Anyway, I gotta go. See ya. Be careful, okay?
Okay. I meet with the sorry. I meet with the smile he hastily throws my way with a frown of my own. What does he mean by that? But before I can ask, already he has turned his back from me and is walking away, without a single explanation whatsoever. In some desperate effort, I try to catch up to him, if only to know what warranted this sudden departure and his odd warnings at the end.
Hey, be careful! About what exact?
Only for my attempts to be interrupted by a muffled ringing from my pocket. Mom's cheerful voice greets me as soon as I answer.
Yes, I'm at the party already, Mom. Yes, I'll say hi to her if I can.
The conversation itself doesn't last long. Just a simple hello, a reminder to join the party, and a send their regards to their old student. But when the call ends and I get to look up, Ashton's already nowhere in sight. With a sigh and admittedly a little disappointment, I tuck my mobile back into my pocket and head inside, even with familiar company. However coincidental this meeting is, it is somehow shaping up to a terrible evening. The party is full swing an hour later, with the host opening remarks given, still no sign of a husband, the poor woman, and the guests promptly fed. The band shifts the melody to a livelier tune. Soon laughter and rhythmic tapping of shoes fill the room, all in accordance to the lifting strains of music. It seems fun, I admit, fascinating at certain moments. The flurry of dancers make the music their own, and must have no care in the behold. If I weren't so indisposed, I'd have joined the crowd for a song or two. There isn't a lack of invitations anyway. Plenty of them, in fact, with some asking more than once. It's only my stubborn refusal that prevents me from joining them. And I can. A single nod is all I take, and the evening would have been far enjoyable for me. But pride and my own silly hopes, the thought of being seen with one of them by him, curbs that, as well as I hate to admit it. I thought she'd let it go, because doing so also means outright acknowledging the douche's claims that he has been the one to tell me that still sends my blood boiling. I would have preferred someone more agreeable, less of an arse. It's a hard truth to swallow, especially when the very person at the centre of it makes the night difficult. Can even spare me a minute of his attention, or sing a glance at me the whole evening. Hell, Zachary might have spoken more words to me. The big guy is busy covering the event, the booth, but at least he managed to slip in a conversation or two between takes, or a small wave of his hand when he passes by. Hi, Zachary! But what's Ashton's excuse? He's been flitting in and out of sight the whole time. One moment, he's hanging around a small group, in another, he's hovering around the string band. Just a second ago, he's wolfing down some deviled eggs by the buffet table, a glass of wine in hand. The next thing I know, he's gone. If I didn't know any better, I'd say he doesn't want to be with me of his friends, or me of any of his friends. Is it because his boss is here? What's the big deal about that? This never bothered him before.
I swear, the next person who asks, I'm dancing the night away with. Ashton can go fuck himself.
You would catch his eye a lot better if you wore nicer clothes, don't you think?
Her voice almost makes me jump. Too focused on the gobshite wandering around the ballroom and my own annoyance to notice. If she heard any of the profanities I've mumbled, or she's taken notice of my discomfiture, she makes no comment on it, merely greeting me with a smile when I turn my attention to her. Miss Hannah Wright gives off a whole different air when she's not speaking to an audience. Homely, a bit too friendly for my liking, but I guess it comes from being raised in such an environment and having to deal with pompous and snooty people. The I suppose nothing has really changed from years ago. I remember her carrying herself in the same manner during that one and only visit. Does she remember any of it? I won't be surprised if she doesn't. It has taken me a while myself. She's probably met a lot of people like little Becky throughout the years. Might have already forgotten about me or my parents. People like her thrive on connections after all. Nevertheless, I return a smile, awkward and stiff as it may be.
Didn't realize the housewarming was going to be this fancy. I would have gone with a nice dress if I knew.
Oh, you're fine, dearie. It's only really the parvenus, those who climb, that come to these parties all dolled up. Quite the black-haired beauty, isn't he?
It takes me a while to realise who she's talking about, until Ashton walks by again, in close proximity than any of the times he has done so far this evening. Still had a look of acknowledgement our way at all, even if Mrs. Wright spoke loud enough to catch the attention of anyone within earshot.
Who, Ash?
You know, you really shouldn't have turned down those offers. If I wasn't married, I'd happily go dancing with those young men. But you said a name. Ash. That's the exquisite lad you've been looking at all this time. I don't know him, and I'm the one hosting this party. That must mean you know each other. Is he your boyfriend then? Because that would explain those rejections.
So we've got overlaps now. This is the first time someone has made an assumption. Almost every student I've had in the past did. My co-workers, more often than not, assume he is. A few of my neighbours also think we're an item. Not that Ashton has ever reacted to those, has been quite indifferent about it in fact. Will she return this picture as well, you think? Still, the heat of a blush creeps up on my cheeks. Deny already, despite wanting it to happen so badly myself.
What? No, that's ridiculous. He isn't my boyfriend.
Such a violent reaction. A simple no would have sufficed. Many here would be happy to hear it.
And I haven't been looking at him.
I do my best to summon a strained face. Before her could cheer, it easily falters.
That's right. You've been staring. Quite heatedly, in fact. Although I'm not sure if you look like you want to kiss him or kill him.
It's more the latter currently.
Just don't go murdering him on my property. I don't want to walk into a room and suddenly find a body there.
Be careful what you're saying, that's right. Alright, so we're not going to see her. Okay, good. It's infectious in a way. No sooner I find myself enjoying our chat more than I've imagined myself to. I'll tell her attention briefly wavers at one point. She remains a good companion. Even more once I've mentioned who my parents are. Her face quickly lights up, and fondness graces her face, despite a meeting from several years ago being a short one. But of course, there are some things you really can't avoid talking about. After all, some of the few things I remember Al asking me the moment she spotted little Becky in the room. Do you have a boyfriend? In retrospect, it's an odd thing to talk about as children, when there are loads we could have started with.
Yes, oh, I remember you. You were the cutest little thing with glasses. And when we met, you were having boy troubles with this lad called something with an A.
I believe I still have the clothes she gave me. Chosen, also I could impress him. And even back then, Ashton has always been denser than a rock. And that one attempt to get him to notice backfired spectacularly. Sure, he's keen. He's a detective, for heaven's sake. But feelings? More often than not escape him.
What was it again? Aaron, Alan, Adele, Albert, Alexander, Andrew?
Which makes his whole talk all the more embarrassing. And the more names she lists off, the more my discomfort grows until my smile turns to a grimace. What will she think of me? Here she is, married to a man she most probably loves at that. While I'm still stuck in the same place, yearning for the same person.
Ashton! Ash! That man is that same one. Oh, goodness me, after all these years. I can see why, though. He's quite dashing.
You don't really need to announce it to everyone within earshot, you know? Keep it down.
I'm so sorry, but it really is cute.
She says that, but for a short moment, a hint of pity flickers in her eyes. I take it as a chance to change the subject before anything more can be said over the matter. I haven't even figured out how I should feel about a thing Luke told me. Now I'm getting dragged into a similar discussion.
So, this is a nice party, Miss Wright.
To be frank, I doubt she'll be so willing to pass this up. The topic has already captured her attention.
Please, Anna's fine. We're friends of a sort, aren't we? We must be friends, seeing as I know about your little infatuation, Becky. Don't you worry, dearie. You'll have your happy ending yet.
I'm not too concerned about that, am I? That's not what I'm looking for.
Oh? And what makes you think that? Doesn't everybody want their happy ending?
The idea of happy endings sounds like they're just for fairy tales. And they are, sorta. I don't think you can just sit around, trapped in some tower and hope for the best. If you love them, you have to fight for it, right? You're not just going to sit there and hope that everything will just fix itself on its own. Like everything, you have to work at it.
Hypocrisy. That's what this is. How dare I preach about something? That's exactly what I've been doing. And then I go and act as if I'm entitled to any of it. That by virtue of us growing up together. He must determine that I feel for him, that he's not allowed to look at another, because I'm the one who has stayed by his side the longest. But in the first place, Ashton has always been his own person. This is something I cannot force on him. I can only hold on to these, take care of it. When the time comes, I can confess to him. Great. If he reciprocates, but if he can't, if he won't, selfish. I've been too selfish. I love to let Luke's words still strike true up until now.
But what do I know?
I'm sure the daughter of the two greatest professors I've ever known is smart enough to know what she's talking about.
At one point, maybe I would have easily agreed to that. However, the past weeks have also seen changes in the way I view things. As nice as these things sound, it turns out whatever I previously know may not even be true for other people, or for myself. It is sobering and almost funny how things I might have said with much certainty before, now it's doubts muddying each of them. But there will be time to mull about these later, because when a hush suddenly descends in the room, a whole different issue rears. Especially when fucking Luke, strides into the now quiet ballroom, freshly laid and oozing the same pompous mien he always carries around with him.
Good evening, ladies and gents. Enjoying the party?
Oh, he knows
I hope I'm not too late in welcoming you all to the Wright Mansion.
Before long, Annalise must to join him, and it doesn't take a genius to piece it all together.
Welcome one and all to our humble abode. Tonight, if you have yet to find yourself in your roles, you are all ladies and lords of the court of your king and queen, if you would excuse my presumptuousness. So, enjoy the feast that has been laid out for your senses, as we only allowed the best to be served. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone.
His attitude, the manner he carries himself around people, his unfamiliarity with that part of the city. Of fucking course! I should have known. Although I am partly at fault here. Tabloids and the gossip columns have never been really my thing. I should have also expected wherever Luke fucking Wright is, some sort of drama will sure follow. He seems the kind of person who revels in it. Figures that they'll find him on its own, even when he's not asking for it. It happens amidst a round of applause and hoots. People lagging behind the crowded characters do not catch on. The cheers turn into several scandalized gasps.
I am pregnant. with your little bastard. You promised me you'll take responsibility. God damn it, Luke. I finally got you to talk to me after months of silence, and you do this to me.
What do you mean you're pregnant with? Luke, is this true?
Lies and slander, woman! Security! Johannes, take her out of here before she makes an even bigger fool of herself!
No, you do not do this to me. I was so ready to leave my stupid oaf of a husband. I told you to leave that damn wife of yours. Look at her. Does she look like she wants a baby? Does she look like she could take care of a baby?
The commotion doesn't go further, despite a drunk woman appearing like she has plenty more venom to spill. In a little while, security shows up, escorting her out. Apparently she's the chief inspector's wife too? As if this whole thing can't get any more fucked up than it already is. What a mess. The damage has been done, and beyond the repercussions this brings, I'm more worried about Hannah. Maybe Luke too in part. I've seen the man that hides behind his self-importance. And is someone who cares the person who stands beside him. No matter how questionable it is now. After all, no anger is worse than that of a scorned woman. And Hannah, well, as so fine of a manner she is in front of her guest, I'm not sure if she'll be all too willing to tolerate this. Her party, her home, her husband, and that woman has just dared to walk over it. It's in her eyes when she turns to her, the face of someone who demands she be given the same respect she has long deserved.
You are no longer welcome in any of our estates, our properties, and our businesses. And we will no longer patronize yours. Now, escort the girl and make sure she isn't standing even an inch within our grounds.
Hannah's outrage is a strange sight to witness. And those smiles and the grace she has quite carried herself through the entirety of the party. Like this, her eyes burning bright with fury. I don't doubt she can do so much more. Ruin the scandalous woman if needed be. Shaming her is already an act of mercy, generous enough coming from her.
You won't show your face to me ever again if you know what is good for you, Rochelle. Take her away.
No one protests. Not even the subject of her ire as she is forcibly dragged out. Even the smile on Luke's face wavers when she eventually turns to him and pulls him out of the room for a talk of their own. For a brief moment, there's a concerted effort between those left in the hall. A short second of tense silence while they struggle to figure out what to do with themselves. But through the kind of talk these situations attract, it doesn't last too long. Soon chatter explodes throughout the whole ballroom. Worried murmurs, clicking of tongues, and inappropriate gossip filters through the thick tension in the room. Most of them haven't even left the premises, and they're already talking about it. Tomorrow it'll be on the news for sure, in every local broadsheet and tabloid in Luxbourne. I couldn't care less about any of it. Simply thinking about it already gives me a headache. When the shock has faded, I just feel bone tired. I've accomplished nothing of what I've come here for, and apparently Ashton has disappeared sometime during the commotion. I'm not sure what pisses me off more, that he ignored me the whole evening and might have just left without saying anything, and knowing he obviously has some other motive for being here. Can't he at least trust his own friends for that?
He didn't have to hide it from me.
The only relief to be had in this, perhaps, is Zachary's comforting smile when he approaches. He appears as disturbed when he stands beside me, fiddling with the buttons on his camera, even though the device is off.
Eventful night, huh?
You can say that again. It was awful.
He pauses for a moment, stares at me intently. Then he laughs, a tired one, but filled with humor in spite of we've witnessed.
Let me guess. Ashton?
He knows her so well.
Oh, what makes you think he's my problem?
Just
Like
a hunch. And, it's all in your face, actually.
Why does he have to? I don't understand that man anymore.
Like I always say, you should just...
Oh, you can bet your ass we're going to have a very long talk. I'm not letting him off easy this time.
I don't want to be Ashton.
I'm sure he has a good reason. He won't say it, but he likes being around us. Heck, we're probably the only people he likes. He ain't gonna ruin that for something stupid. He can be dense, but he ain't dumb.
But that's exactly what I've been telling people, isn't it?
We'll see about that. I just want to go home. Are you done here?
Nah, sorry. I can't until the party ends.
It's all right. I'll just take a cab or something. I'll see you later, Zachary.
Before removing myself from the room, I lay a comforting hand on his arm. He'll need it among these people. And then I am gone, more than ready to end the disastrous night as early as possible. As it turns out, the night isn't done with me yet, because no sooner has the porter closed the door behind me, I find myself standing alone in the foyer with one Luke Wright. No sign of his wife. Just him and the agitated clicks his shoes make, while he treats around the empty room. Away from the media's prying eyes and their guests' judging stares, it's easy to glean how much this scandal has him shaken. I'm gonna make a quick save. Oh, not that. Yeah, thank you. Not to the point where he has utterly lost his composure. He appears to have mastered himself enough not to. But an ample opening is there for a nervous edge to show on the lines of his shoulders.
What do you know?
The man is not as tough as he makes himself out to be. Sure, I've seen this before. Briefly, in that 1 second hallway at school. It's a strange matter, however, to witness this out in the open, behind closed doors. This is the real Luke Wright. Though maybe that's because he hasn't noticed my presence yet, busy as he is with his thinking. If he's aware, I'll doubt he'll be acting like this. His pride is one thing he will always bear with him. Even now, when I place a gentle hand on his shoulders, and he rolls around to face me, there's a second-long moment of anger flashing across his features before it dissolves into confusion. He tucks it away as quickly as he can, but it does nothing to change the impression I've built of the man in my head.
Daisy, must you be everywhere?
We've only met 3 times, Luke. Quit the dramatics. Besides, shouldn't you be aware of who gets invited to your party?
If I was, there
Good
wouldn't
shit.
be any of that scene tonight. That munter wouldn't even get an inch within this property. I'd ban her off Luxbourne if I could.
He probably pawns everything off to their servants and Hannah. Pompous, a listic douche.
Did you just come out here to lecture me about it? Because, Daisy, I've had enough of it for one night. I don't need to hear another one.
You are a very unpleasant man.
So I've been told. Will that be all? If so, I suggest you go back and join every bloody goss in that room.
Not everything. As unpleasant and frustrating talking with this man is, he deserves the benefit of the doubt, at least. The question and criticism aren't lacking, of course, but right this instant there's only one that comes to mind.
You know, brooding over here isn't going to fix this mess.
Again with the lecture.
Will you stop calling it that?
Very well, what should we call this then? A heart-to-heart? Please don't, I might puke. And just so you know, I don't want to talk about feelings. Ever.
This isn't one, all right? It's just a friendly concern. Bloody hell, can't you just take it for what it is?
He pauses at that. Suddenly, he doesn't know what to do with his hands. and in the end, he simply stuffs them back to his pockets and sulks. There probably aren't many people who tell him that. He's a difficult man to get along with, after all. I honestly won't give him a second of my time if I didn't see a different side to him. Dealing with him requires more than patience. When the awkwardness passes, mostly coming from him, he merely glances away. But the tightness in his shoulders has eased, and when he speaks again, despite his rather rude choice of words, none of has any venom in it.
Friendly concern, right. While we're at it, I should mention that Hana used to call that viper friend. Now I think she might want to strangle the Munta if she sees her again. After she's done with me, of course.
You know you're in trouble then.
I doubt she's going to do anything like that.
What do you even know about this?
Oh, I know enough. You may look like a sleazy douche, and you still are, by the way.
It's almost comical how fast his face shifts from mild disdain to offended. But don't let it distract me. These things need to be said, and he needs to hear them, even though they are coming from some meddling stranger.
But you have your few good moments. I might even say that you're a decent person, if I'm in the mood. Now go. If you really love her, you've got to try and fix this yourself.
Maybe tomorrow.
Luke!
Daisy, did you see her earlier? Was that the face of a wife who wants to have a chat with her cheating husband?
Well, at least you admitted you did something wrong. Good for you.
Step
How
forward.
about a star? Would you like a star to go with that good deed?
Or a kiss from a teacher and a bank forward, as we say in my country.
Don't get used to it. Do you realize how awkward this is?
A kus van een juf en een bank vooruit. Oh.
Oh, I do.
Before I've even thought about what to say, I've known there can only be two ways this can go. All things considered, it isn't as bad as I've assumed. However, there are still some things my brand of encouragement can fix. His marital problems, first and foremost. His attitude follows right after. Concerns aside, I can help with those. Those are things only he can fix. And instead of not by standing around here bandering.
Don't worry, I was just about to leave. Feel free to continue with your brooding once I'm gone. I'm not going to tell anyone. Cross my heart.
You think this is funny, Daisy?
Laughter is the only response I give him. With a slight wave of my hand, I end it right there and walk away. Although I can't resist the urge to glance back before I leave, if only to have one last look at the man he really is. But the instant I turn my gaze on him, I see it. Glooming, hovering over his shoulder, drawn to him like a moth to a flame. Like the first time I stepped inside the space in search of Isabella. So that's the dark glory of his sees in it, now he sees. Oh, poor Luke. He was there too, wasn't he? That man, along with his wife and another person, Miss McCulloch? And that shadow? No. A woman now. So creepy how he clings to him. Her, no longer a dark blur. Terror rushes through every vein in my body. A crippling sensation gripping every part of me. Now she stared at me with glare filled with nothing but hate and venom. It's like staring at the eyes of a woman I've unknowingly robbed of something precious. I try to say something. A warning. But before I can gather my wits and voice it out, someone shuts the door behind me, as if to keep outsiders away from the secret this mansion possesses. The brush of fresh air against my cheeks does little to dampen the chill in my bones. By now, the sensation, the fear and disquiet, it leaves whenever I see her. It's familiar enough for me. Already it has made a home in my nerves, really. does, it really did. I didn't even notice my trembling hands until I crossed my arms across my chest. The cold from the tips of my fingers seeped through the thick material of my skirt. Neither of it helps bring together some semblance of coherent thought in my head. But I know I should.
Someone has to tell that douche.
Are you going to do it, Becca? I start walking back before fear can cripple me again. It's not wise. Returning, that is. I mean, especially after what happened. But Hannah's an old friend, and Luke. Well, Luke doesn't deserve whatever misfortune that it might bring. I can't just leave these two in there. Isabella's right. She's real, and there's something she wants from everyone who has read that.
Becca, where'd you go off to?
If you're done here, let's go. I'll get you back to the city.
Ashton? My mistake. Second, his voice cuts through the crisp night air. It's that I've allowed my annoyance get the better of me. Fuming, purpose, forgotten. I whirl around and march towards him. Oh, he's gonna have hell. One accusation after another piles up at the tip of my tongue, ready to hurl at any moment. His hesitation hold me back when I fling at him. That straight face he keeps as I do so doesn't help temper my anger either. It only makes me want to slap some more sense into him.
Shouldn't I be the one asking you that?
Becca, I've been waiting here the whole time. I told you I hate parties like...
And before that, where have you been the entire evening?
Right then and there, I might have forgiven him if he'd shown some ounce of remorse for leaving me like that. Maybe he could have looked away, given me a sign that my assumptions might be right. He doesn't need to put them into words. A single gesture of confirmation is all I need. Rather, what I get is the same impassive look. He does it whenever he can't disclose anything. He does it whenever he's lying. In the face of it, amidst a thick tension, a frustrated huff is the only thing I can summon.
Be that way. Fine. Suit yourself.
No more words. After everything I've seen and heard tonight, I'm already too exhausted for those. So without speaking any further, I simply walk past him and stomp over his car. Although before I can pull open the door, he calls out, one hand outstretched, a gentle weight on my shoulders.
Wait, Becca.
He pauses, his brows furrowing and lips curving to a slight frown. I can almost see the gears in his head while he tries to piece together everything he wants to say. Before, perhaps, I might have waited patiently for those. He's not a man fond of using words to express himself. More often than not, any gesture of honesty will only come out blunt and coarse when forced. But today, for one reason or another, I simply can't summon that forbearance.
Ashton, if you're just going to waste my time again...
Becca, listen. I don't know how else...
That much is obvious. Why don't you just take the whole bloody night? Go on. I can wait until next year.
Ouch.
Better yet, why don't you just keep it all to yourself like you always do? It's not like...
Rebecca, will you hear me out first?
The silence I can offer him, but whether I believe what he's about to say is still up for debate. A very long debate.
I honestly don't know how else to put this. I'm aware your parents have some kind of history with Hannah Wright, and somehow you're friends with her. But you should stay away from these people for now, especially the husband.
Who? Luke?
His expression deepens into a scowl at my mentioning of the name. But whatever opinion he has, he doesn't immediately voice. Still, something about it has greatly displeased him, evident in the stiff note his tone assumes.
Yeah, he's bad news.
It's my turn to frown this time. What does he mean by that? Yeah, I've got to explain your reasons.
Care to explain your reasons?
I've not meant for it to sound as harsh as it does, but anger and frustration have never been a good match in me, particularly in nights like these. It's not surprising Narshan jerks back, as if I've struck him. For a fleeting moment, something akin to hurt darts across his features, his eyes narrowing and hands closing in tightly into a fist at his sides. Then, swiftly he glances away and shifts his focus on the line of trees nearby, like an answer can be gleaned from the dark expanse.
I'm really sorry, Becca.
What is it for? For the party? The vague answer he continues to give? Was it include all those times before this? The years worth it? I don't doubt its sincerity. However, at the moment the forgiveness he's asking isn't something I'm all too willing to hand, furious as I am. It's frankly a wonder how I can keep myself from raising my voice at him.
We'll talk about this tomorrow. And you better have a proper answer for me by then.
There's a brief hesitation before I step away. A short moment of wanting to say more, of waiting if he has anything to add. He's only silent. I still train at a distance. It is the last glimpse I see of him before I climb beside his car. If the door slams closed with the same force the anger I'm holding, its sound merely vanishes into the night, unnoticed. He follows soon after, and surely we're on our way back to the city. Yet, even with city's bright lights welcoming us, the dense, somber air from the mansion still lingers. The moon is almost at its highest by the time we reach Salem Well, even after our respective hats have cooled off. The atmosphere in the car remains rife with unspoken tension. This isn't a problem so easily fixed with a few handshakes. Quite frankly, I don't know what will. Ashton himself has no idea what to do when he alights and dawdles awkwardly in the middle of the car park, unsure. It almost seems like he's having an internal debate whether he should say goodbye or mutter another apology. I could have driven him away, purely out of spite, the second I've gotten off. Still, old habits die hard. It's late and Ashton's flat is on the other side of the city. Irritation might still rear its head every time I look at him right now, but I'm not too cruel to put him up on another I'm not too cruel to put him up on another long drive, especially when he still appears as if he hasn't gotten any rest.
You can borrow the couch.
I throw the keys in my flat his way before a protest forms on his lips. Although he catches it with ease, he eyes it with a wary expression and shoots a puzzled glance at my way.
You haven't been forgiven. We're still going to have that talk, believe me. But I'm not about to send you out on another drive looking like that. It's late. Go get some rest.
We're setting aside a lot of loose ends like this, but he appears to have accepted that reason, at least in the meantime. He does give me another questioning glance when I shove past him, but my mobile in the process.
Where are you going? I thought...
You go ahead upstairs. I need to contact Professor Andrew.
Andrew? Why would you... Oh, no. Please.
Guilty.
Is this that thing Isabella said this morning? Again? I already gave her my word, Becca. I'll look into this BRC crap. No need to drag the old guy into it.
Of course, he's still skeptical. It makes one wonder if he's even seeing anything at all. Figures his scares will stay away from the scuffer. But this is another loose end tonight that I can't just leave alone. Ashton's beliefs notwithstanding, it just so happens that one can delve into using means other than taking a look at the mansion itself.
Ashton, do you really think I still give a shite after that stunt you pulled tonight?
No, but this is...
I spent so many years with him to know this is about to turn into another argument. Before he can finish it, I cut him off with a firm raise of my hand.
Look, I don't care. There are weird things happening around here. And yes, it's Isabella's brand of weird. Ghostly voices, strange sounds, and a bloody woman sitting at the back of my car. You don't have to believe me. And I no longer have the patience to convince you, so just leave me be, Ashton.
He doesn't push it, growing quiet instead. Also, I know he has a whole case of it prepared inside his head, but there's a reluctant shift in his movement. Then he steps away from our conversation. Short of climbing the stairs, he stops, turns to face me with an expression almost too conflicted.
Are you really sure
What?
that there was something? That you've been, seeing things?
So now she's mentioning it.
Yes, I'm very, very certain. Now go, and you better not break anything in there. The last time I let you stay over, it was that statuette Belle gave me. You haven't even replaced that one.
The last of my reprimand goes both unheard and unanswered, as he disappears behind the stairs. If things aren't as strained, he might have a quip or two about that, followed by a light banter. Instead, for a long moment, I am left staring after him. There's something in the way he asks it that Max. Come up with his expression, the whole exchange just feels unsettling. One that doesn't fade even as I gather my thoughts and shift my focus on another, even as I dial Professor Andrews' number. And that is when it clicks. Turning the long wait for the professor, one stray thought emerges from the unease. Ashton has not intended for his question to be a jibe. It's concern. For what all? For my well-being? The latest guess? The woman I mentioned? The answers for those will have to wait, however. Finally, the call connects and Professor Andrews' voice echoes from the receiver.
Professor Andrew?
Rebecca? It's late. What can I do for you?
Sorry, Professor.
I know, I'm sorry, but this is a bit urgent.
After all, this is more pressing matter. Our lives might be at stake and we're still in the dark.
Actually, I was wondering if I could ask you to do me a favor.
What's the favor going to be? Let's find it out tomorrow, shall we? See you then.